things on Instagram, and welcome to my knitting and spinning podcast. This is my second episode, and I'm actually recording this on the day it's going to be released because I don't know if you'll be able to tell, I'm actually a little bit ill, so I haven't been able to record this when I on the Fridays I usually do and release it on the Monday. So I'm just recording it on Monday, hoping to edit it quite quickly today and put it out so that I actually remain on schedule for my second ever podcast. So I do apologise if I sniffle a little bit, but I'll try and edit that out if I can. So yeah, what to talk about? I am wearing my Rose Whisper dress, which I talked a little bit about last week or in my last episode, and this is a pattern that I got from Drops Garn Studios. Drops the yarn company, and yeah, just get a little bit of a little can't see it, but it's better than nothing. So yeah, I thought it'd be nice to sort of see the dress in situ and how I style it. Yeah, there you go. It's a really cool pattern. I will begin by talking about some finished objects. I don't have a great deal of them from last week because, like I said, I was a little bit ill and I had a couple of some unexpected sort of commitments that came up that I couldn't say no to. So yeah, I'll begin by talking about the big project of last week, which was my Stripe Hype sweater by Veronika Lindberg, and it's complete, mostly. So yeah, I talked a lot about this and I really loved doing this. Like I mentioned, the yarn was a bargain bin find, which is no, it was not James Seabright, it was King Cole yarn, Homespun, and I just got a bunch of different colours that I thought were great. As far as I could tell, there were only 2 colours in the bin that I didn't get, which was one was a mauve and one was like a pink colour. I also realised that I say mauve, but I've heard people say mauve, so that's that. I went for a medium, the medium size of the 2, and I said it's mostly finished. I just have to bind off the right arm. I made the ribbing slightly longer on this side than I did on the other side because I wasn't sure, because just my calculations for how much yarn I'd left over was a bit spotty, but I really like this. It's already blocked because I had to make sure that I could fit before I fully bound off. But yeah, I'm going to put this on just to kind of show again. Gonna have knitwear on knitwear on knitwear, but that's fine. But yeah, it fits perfectly. I've never had to do this funny kneeling on my couch thing to sort of be able to show it to you. It has got arm shaping decreases, which I don't know how I feel about them. It is a little bit more snug than in the body because I didn't do the shaping on the body. I wanted it to have a boxier fit, and absolutely has nothing to do with the fact that I only realised halfway into doing the body that they were meant to be body shaping, but like it works. So yeah, I really like the colour choices on here, and it's a really drapey and lightweight jumper, and I'm very excited for the weather to be more conducive of me wearing this jumper. I think it's really great. I think as well it probably looks the most store-bought out of a lot of the jumpers I've got at the moment. yeah, I like it. There's nothing else I can really say about it. I recommend. I think the pattern is entirely worth it. I think the yarn for me personally was worth the price. It was so cheap at £2 per ball. I think I used I want to say 4, but I think I think it's 4 of the main body colour. This cream, I think it's called Wild Mushroom, and I have more than half of each of the other colours of skeins that I've used for the stripe motifs. So I've got quite a lot of leftovers of this yarn, so I've got to come up with ideas for what to use it for. I'm going to take this off because I am getting a bit warm. Sorry, I had to take a quick break there to just sort myself out. I'm feeling incredibly flustered because of this cold I have. So yeah, I was also able, so moving on to what I was doing. So yeah, that is the Stripe Hype by Veronika Lindberg, and I think this is a pattern you'll be seeing a lot of people doing and a lot of people making a lot, so yeah. And I'll be wearing this a great deal, so I'm really pleased with my choices when it comes to this. The second finished object that I have completed is my ribbed beanie hat. I don't know if you can see. So I made this for my husband. He does not have much hair and he gets a cold head every winter, and I promised him I'd make him one, and I'm really quite pleased with how this came out. It's a nice classic beanie hat. I can't wear it because obviously my hair and my hairstyle is not conducive to a beanie hat, but it's a little bit damp because it's still I just washed it for blocking and to remove any of sort of the spinning lubricant that's usually found on yarn, which makes it a bit stiff, but it's really softened up and it's become a lot drapier from how it initially was. He's quite pleased. I like the colour. I think it's, you know, a good winter hat. And yeah, there's not much to say. The pattern's great. It's a free pattern. It's a very intuitive, easy design. Yeah. Should I talk more about it? Basically, you cast on 120 stitches. You do a 2x2 rib until you've got 17 or 18 centimeters, and then at every six 2x2s, so that's every 12, I think. You just do knit 2 together, sorry, an SSK, and on every row until you've got 12 left, and then there you go. It's quite nice. I've got quite a bit of a bit of leftover yarn, just slightly under half of the whole bowl, so I might try and make mittens if there's enough of that left, and then yeah, that's that. That is pretty much everything that I've got for finished objects. In terms of any sort of ongoing projects, one thing I was quite keen to do in the last one was to shorten the leg of the foot of the sock, which I've done now and I've blocked. So my goal for the next episode is to have the second complete sock for this, and yeah, then I could just go on and have a really nice cable rib knit sock for myself. Still really pleased with the colour for this pattern, so yeah. I don't have any other ongoing projects. I still have my Aran sweater, but that's still in the timeout zone, so I'm not actively working on it, so I'm not going to talk about it. But last night I decided to do a swatch for a pattern called City Streets Cardi. It's a pattern by Drops Design. Yeah, so I created a swatch. So this is the texture. I don't know if it's something that you can see very well there, but I couldn't decide on the colours. And I will admit, when I was creating the swatch, it was late last night after we'd had dinner, and so we'd had low lighting in, so I actually couldn't see the colours very well. And initially I wanted to do this colour combination because I thought it'd be nice to have a light pink cardi. But when I was knitting this last night in the dark, I just really didn't vibe with the colour combination. I really thought that it looked a little bit too fleshy for me, so I experimented with going with the burgundy and pink, which is what you see here. But then I don't know, it felt a bit dark, and the contrasting between the darker and the lighter colour, even with the blue, I thought really took away from the stitch pattern, which is a garter ridge stitch. And obviously I slept on it, and I'm looking at it in the improper light, and I think I'm gonna go doing this colour pattern, which is using yarn from my stash. So it's using these two colours. So these cones are cones that I purchased from Yeoman yarns, which I use predominantly for my knitting machine. And the really cool thing about these cones is that these are made from 100% recycled wool, and so they're just sort of a single, no, can't see it from there, I suppose. It's like a single plied kind of wool, and it's quite rough in texture, and it's quite structured, which I quite liked. And this colour I think is great. You can see so many blues and yellows, and just a whole host of colours in there, which I think would ultimately make a really nice fabric. So yeah, so once the time's right, I think once I've completed the sock, I'm going to go to using these two cones to make my cardi. There most likely isn't enough on this cone alone, but I've got some ripped back projects where I can just sort of salvage this from. I just also realised in this room, which is my storage room, storage spare room, I've got a project which uses this cone, which I made on my knitting machine, and I'm just going to show it to you so you can see what kind of fabric it makes. It's a really kind of simple raglan jumper, and the fabric on this, as you can see, is just real nice, real sort of classic knit. Yeah, it's too small for me to try on, unfortunately, but I really like the fabric. It's not next to skin soft at all, not by any means. That recycled nature ensures that's the case. Okay, I'm gonna have to just pause to just get something from my shelf to talk about the next thing I want to do. So, just, yeah. Okie dokie. Alright, so the next thing I really want to do is to knit a pair of socks. I am on a bit of a sock odyssey with some handspun. So I've got the second thing on a bobbin because I've just been too lazy to skein this up and count the yardage. But so yeah, I've got this skein that I've spun myself, and it's just like, I don't know, just like the loveliest colours, very autumnal, and very soft and very lofty, I'd say. But I'm just going to unwind that so I can yeah, there's some huge contrasts in some of the colours. So you got some dark burgundy purples and some really light yellows and light greens, some maybe some teals in there. I don't know if that'll focus. Nope. And yeah, I've got this other one which is now this looks like, yeah, so this is chain plied, and that's what the bobbin looks like. I'm gonna skein that, and I'm hoping when I split this that it was an even split so I can have one each on this side. This was a Malabrigo cloud roving that I purchased and spun from. It was great. I loved it. So yeah, looking at this, it's coming up at 17 wraps per inch, which is a sport weight, and I have 150 meters of this. So I need, I think my perfect sock is a all over rib sock, just so that I can get the perfect foot form and not have like a loose sock. But I also want to, I'm also like kind of torn about wanting to make a vanilla sock so that the spinning, like the spin and the colours get a time to shine, because I don't know, like I love doing this so much. The thought of not being able to see this at its all glory kind of makes me sad, but again, I don't think I'll be able to, I don't know, I might just be able to start this sock in time for the next episode, but I know for a fact that that is something I really wanted to do, and yeah, it's kind of fun to talk about the spinning aspect of my knitting channel, but like when I say I'm a spinner and a knitter, I 100% mean that. But yeah, that's my plans, upcoming plans soon, knitting wise. There you go. So I don't know if this is appropriate to talk about here, or if I should do its own episode, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do it and talk about it. I just feel like I need to take a second because I feel like I'm not really making a lot of sense and I don't have a lot of structure in this episode, but I really do feel quite out of it because of this cold. But I really want to get this done, so I'm just gonna plow through and do it. And I hope that this isn't too waffly or an all over the place kind of episode. Oh well. Okay, so to start by giving you a bit of context for the next big spinning slash knitting, but right now it's currently just a spinning project. Last year in the spring, and this was before I even had my spinning wheel, I went to someone who had a small holding and bought some fleece from them, and I bought 2 fleeces, and yeah, I've only really this year just started spinning with it. This was just entirely raw, entirely fresh fleece when I bought it, so it required some skirting, it required some cleaning, and I'd never done that. So and really the best time to do that is in the summer, when you can dry the fleece outside and quite quickly before it gets damp and it starts to rot and all that stuff. So I bought 2 lamb's fleece. I think it was the 2nd shear at the time, and the breed was South Down sheep, which is very soft and squishy and, like in the name, quite downy, as opposed to anything that has a long staple length. It's like I tend to think it's quite similar to my natural hair, in the sense that it's got a lot of curl and a lot of coil and crimp, not necessarily crimp, but a lot of curl to it. And so yeah, last year I got as far as really doing a first pass scour. Scouring is the process of washing the fleece. So yeah, I skirted and scoured first pass, and then really wasn't in the space to do more than that. And like at the time I was drop spinning, so spindle spinning, which was because I was also learning. I was really quite slow with it, and I didn't have the proper equipment such as carders and combs. At the time I was using, I've got this right here, I was using dog and cat brushes, which are tiny, as you can see. And not, you know, if you don't know what you don't have, that's fine. But really this was one of the bottlenecks for me. And then this spring I bit the bullet. I knew that I really enjoyed spinning and I wanted to do more of it. So I bought, I did a big purchase and bought my first spinning wheel, which is a Krumsky Fantasia, for those wondering. And so yeah, I really went all in scouring, doing a second pass scour, because the fleece really was raw. They were kept outside, they were very happy sheep. They weren't, you know, bred for creating spinning wool. I'm just going to show you the two bags I've got of the wool, just to kind of show you just how much I've got to spin through and how much I've got to prep. So yeah, first, so this is a bag that I have of thrice scoured, so scoured 3 times in total of wool. So this is like the cleanest I've got. And then I've also got this bag, and I'd say this is twice scoured, but if you look inside, it's not really picking up very well on the camera, but it is still quite dirty. Still has a lot of VM and probably a lot of poop still. But it's so much cleaner in comparison to what I started out with. And so yeah, I got these 2 bags that I've got to spin through. This is what I got. This is about a month's of inconsistent spinning worth of my South down. And I've got one on a bobbin that just needs skeins and measuring. So yeah, I've got a little bit of kind of prepped wool in here, ready for spinning, and yeah, so I'm hoping to get through a good portion of that wool by the end of the year. I don't think I'll do all of it myself by the end of the year, but if I could do this bag, that would be swell. So yeah, I think that's everything I've got to talk about, really. Apologise if it felt a little bit sporadic. I feel a little bit flushed and a little bit weird because of illness, but I will ensure that this episode comes out to you and I'll do better next week. I hope you've had a good time and you found this entertaining in some shape or form, or even informative. So yeah, see you next week. Bye.